What is up, everybody? We are back. I am George Mossey. Please say hello to my co-host, DeeDee. This is the George Mossey Show. So we're talking about Seeking Brother Husband, Season 1, Episode 2. So last night, we finally got to meet the last piece of the puzzle in this season, Shara, Patrick, and Noble. And Shara and Patrick have been married for 13 years, and they actually met because Shara was Patrick's tax person. What do you call a tax person? A CPA? I think it's a
CPA.
CPA, right? So she did Patrick's taxes and he slid her the number. He winked at her a few times. They ended up going on a date, and that's the rest is history. They are together, 13 years together. And for like a while, everything was hot and heavy. Things were great. And then unfortunately, we learned that Shara got into a bad car accident where she was immobile. She had to learn how to do things again. She couldn't even really speak. And during that process, she said that they lost their fire, their spark. And he became more of a caretaker for her. And the dynamic of their relationship changed. And instead of them moving forward apart, they decided that the best thing for them to do was to bring in another partner, which is an interesting resolution, right? Because it's like she said they were in a sexless marriage for almost 10 years. And in order for them to fix that, instead of going their separate ways, because she said the idea of her divorcing Patrick made her sick to her stomach. She said that she would never leave him, no matter if it was physical or not in their relationship. The love and the connection and the strength of that foundation was just too much for her to walk away from, which I kind of understand. When you really, really love someone, you kind of look past a lot of things. You deal with a lot. And just because they had grown apart physically didn't mean that they had grown apart mentally. Those are two different things. So Noble comes into this relationship and he goes in during the pandemic, and they kind of spend a lot of time together. And then it's kind of like the Kenya and Tiger situation. The physical aspect was happening there with Noble and Shara, and Patrick was kind of doing his own thing. He said he was able to work. He was able to get more things done. He was able to be relieved of the stresses of the relationship. It's such an interesting way that they explain this situation. Like, what is your take on this dynamic? Because we learned that Noble had moved out of the house due to some awkward silence and some awkward situations. And Patrick actually said Shara kind of contributed to the situation because she didn't do anything. Like, they brought issues to her and she kind of took the silent approach, and things kind of erupted, and then Noble ended up leaving. Now Noble wants to come back. So, like, what do you think about this situation? Do you think that this was a good match? Do you think that I have a lot of questions. So I was just wondering, where do you land on this?
I'm the same way. I have a lot of questions because I had to like really pay attention, to how they were interacting with each other. And Shara even stated whenever she went out to eat with him that she didn't see him as a fit anymore. That she didn't have that connection with him anymore. That how it all come about went really fast. They met during the pandemic. He moved in the home. Patrick was not, in agreement with it. Noble was living in the basement. That he didn't really realize what was going on. And then he was talking about how she was moaning and groaning and hollering. That's when it that's when it got real for him. And then he brought up his concerns, what he wanted out of it, and she just pretty much shrugged him off and gave him the silent treatment, and didn't at any time during this time sit down and speak with Noble about his concerns or what he wanted out of the relationship. She was, from what I can see, she was being selfish with all of it. She wanted to do it her way. Did not.
Right.
This is another one, not want to take her partner's feelings into consideration.
Yeah, I saw that too. Like, I have your cake and eat it too. Like, she's like, well, I know that there's issues between the two of them, but there's no issues between me and them. So she kind of looked
Yeah,
at it as, well, I don't need to do anything. I'm happy just the way things are. But the guys were not happy just the way things were. And it kind of like erupted. And one of them ended up moving out. But it actually seemed to work out in Shara's favor, because at that meeting, like you said, she sees Noble as a fling situation, not a ring situation. And she said that
exactly.
he moves like a single guy. And I didn't know what she meant by that. Like, he moves like a single guy. Like, was he seeing other women? Or was he dating other women? Like, she didn't really specify what she meant by that, because she's like, you don't seem like the type that wants a relationship, but he was also living in their house. So it's like, that is pretty committed, because a guy who moves single, he just pops up every now and then and you don't know where he is, so the idea that he was living there doesn't make it seem like he was not looking for a relationship. But in her eyes, she felt like it was never going to be anything serious, and it was a pandemic fling. And unfortunately, Noble has feelings and he wants to move back in and he wants to make this work. And it kind of seems like Shara has moved on. Like, she is looking to explore other options. So I feel like this is going to be a situation where Noble might be replaced out, switched out with someone else. And then this is going to be another awkward situation like they had before. And until it's addressed and talked about and communicated, things might get out of hand again. But I know it's going to be impossible for him to move back into the house without permission. So it seemed like Shara was not open to that. But it is hard, because when people are in a relationship and they think that they're in love and they think that they have a connection, and then the woman says, oh, well, no, I'm going to move on to someone else, that can be very difficult. And especially in a polyandry situation, because she can have multiple relationships and multiple connections with multiple people. And I think with us being human, we can't always grasp the idea that this relationship, it seems strong, but she could wake up one day and decide that her connection with someone else is stronger. And I think as a human being, or a guy with feelings, or someone in a relationship, that's never going to be something that you can just accept.
No, I mean that would be hard to accept. Like Noble, he's really battling the fact that he is wanting a relationship with Shara, but Shara is saying like she doesn't want a relationship with him. She just seen him as a fling, and not only that, her and Patrick both stated that whenever Noble lived in the home with them, he didn't do any chores. And that was another issue that Patrick and Shara had against him. That the least little amount of chores that he had, he would always say he did them, but when Patrick went behind him or Shara went behind him, it was not done. Right. So I think he's just looking, maybe that's what she's talking about. Moving like he's single, just wanting to go and get business done and move on. I don't know. I do know that this is going to be a very interesting couple to follow. So
yes, I know, because we saw in the previews where she kind of was telling Noble that she was ending it, but it was more so a replacement. He's like, I feel like you're just replacing me with someone else. So it's going to be a very interesting couple to follow. And speaking of interesting couples, I want to talk about Dustin and Kim and Vincent, because we've been following them. And Dustin and Vincent have a very strong bond relationship, because right now, Vincent and Kim's relationship is kind of up in the air, because Vincent doesn't know if he's ready to be in a relationship with Kim and Dustin and someone else. And I mean, I don't want to say he's in a relationship with Dustin. He's in a friendship with Dustin, would be relationship with Kim. He doesn't know if he's ready to take that step. And even though that relationship is up in the air, he's still very close with Dustin. They have built this bond and they're kind of just trying to work it out. And we kind of watch Dustin have like a little pep talk with Vincent and tell him like, well, what you're feeling right now is what I felt when you were introduced into our relationship. So what you're feeling is normal, and maybe I can help you through these feelings. But again, Vincent is looking at it like, I don't want to feel like I'm inadequate. I don't want to feel like I'm second best, third best, not the first choice. And as humans, we're very selfish like that. We want to feel like we're the number one choice. We want to feel like this is the person that they chose. I want to be that person that the person chose to be with, not this person, then me. And I feel like if he can't overcome those emotions, and especially the fact that he was in those two failed relationships and that's exactly how he felt. He felt inadequate. He felt like he wasn't the number one choice. So I don't know if this polyandry situation is going to work for him based on his history in dating, because he has emotional damage from feeling like he wasn't the only person for the woman that he was with. And that's a void that he has to fill. And sharing a woman is not something that anybody can do. I don't want to say no one can, because there are people on the show who seem to be doing fine, but I don't know, like, and put me in their shoes. I just don't know if I could do it. I feel like I'm strong mentally, but I'm not that strong.
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at it. He really loves her. He really wants to, make it work with her, and he's not ready to go to that next level and sharing her with someone else. He's still, and he keeps repeating it over and over. He came out of two failed marriages, and he feels like, he's not enough. So maybe whenever she started a relationship with him, she should keep that in the back of her mind. Whenever you feel like you're not enough for someone, and then they're wanting to bring someone else in, I mean, that's just like a blow to the gut. Like, why am I not good enough? Maybe that's what keeps going on through his head. Why is he not good enough? Why does, each woman that he's been with, why are they wanting to replace him or find a different version of him or the other partner? And I can imagine, even though Dustin said that he still fights his jealousy, sometimes struggles with his jealousy, whenever he sees them out, I don't think that's anything, that anybody can sit there and say, no matter how mentally strong you are, that seeing your partner with someone else is, if you really love them, and if you're really committed to the relationship, it's going to bother you. I don't care how mentally strong you are.
I think that a lot of people say, oh, monogamy is not normal, it's not natural, but neither is polyamory and polyandry. Like, to human nature, I don't think any of it is normal. I think that we have uncontrollable emotions and feelings, and men and women can be territorial. It doesn't matter the gender. It's like when you have something and you love it and you care about it, and you feel like it belongs to you, even though it doesn't. No one belongs to anyone. But when you see that it's a threat that it could be taken away from you, you kind of go into this territorial defensive place. And it's like an emotion that we don't really know how to get a hold on. Like, no one really can get a hold on it. We just know it's there and we try to control it. So I think this relationship, especially with Vincent in this polyandry situation, it's a battle. It's an inner battle for him. Like, he's fighting an inner battle with himself because he loves Kim. He gets along so well with Dustin. This is a good situation for him to be in, but the inner battle that he's fighting might be too great to make this last long term.
Yeah, maybe, if Kim wants him to be a part of, their future life, maybe she needs to go somewhere just him and her, and to make him feel and to make him see that, he is important, that, she isn't trying to replace him. That would probably be, something she could do to help him be able to accept and be okay with adding another partner. Because when people they're fighting with their inner emotions, especially mentally, they have to be reassured constantly. And maybe that's something that she has liked on her side.
That's true.
Maybe that's why he feels the way he does.
That's true. Reassurance is very important. All right, guys, we run out of time. So I am very, very excited about this season of Seeking Brother Husband. I love seeing the shoe on the other foot because I've been watching Seeking Sister Wife, and it's just nice to see the shoe on the other foot. I feel like women are queens, and back in history, queens have had multiple husbands for centuries. So we know that this is real. So watching this show is very intense and interesting for me. So I'm George Mossey. Make sure you're following me on all social media platforms at George Mossey, georgemossey.com, and anywhere you get your podcast. And please follow my co-host DeeDee too. Her links are right here at the bottom, and we'll talk to all of you guys really soon.